I want to tell you the story of a project that was never finished, a construction job so ambitious, so impossibly grand, that the workers who started it simply put down their tools one afternoon and never came back. It's a story written in stone, and for me, it represents one of the greatest questions in all of human history. What we're talking about is a technology that shouldn't exist, and an event that silenced an entire chapter of our past. This is the unfinished mystery of Baalbek's giant stones. To really understand this mystery, we need to go to modern day Lebanon. Let's pull up a map. Here in the Bekaa Valley sits a place the Romans called Heliopolis, the city of the sun. And when you look at it, what you see first is undeniably Roman. The scale, the grandeur, it's breathtaking. The centerpiece is the Temple of Jupiter, a monument to their god and to the might of Rome.
You can see their signature everywhere. Just look at these columns. They're built in sections or drums, stacked one on top of the other with metal rods holding them together, which is exactly how the Romans built columns all across their empire. The history books tell us the Romans built this entire complex, and there are some historical records that mention their work here. But for a project of this scale, the documentation is surprisingly thin, at least compared to other major Roman sites, and this is where the story starts to get strange. Because if you lower your gaze, if you look beneath the Roman temple, you find something else. A foundation that doesn't feel Roman at all. At the base of the site, you'll find three colossal blocks of limestone. They are collectively known as the Trilithon stones, each one weighing close to 1,000 tons. For me, the real question is how to even comprehend that kind of weight. Imagine a freight train locomotive. One of those weighs about 200 tons. So each one of these stones is like 5 locomotives fused into a single block. It is then carried to the build site and fit perfectly in place. This is a scale of construction the Romans themselves never attempted anywhere else in their vast empire. And that brings us to the core of the problem.
The Romans were very good record keepers, so we know a lot about their engineering. Their most powerful crane was called the Polyspaston. It was a masterpiece of its day, but even the biggest versions could only lift about 60 tons. For special projects, they could build even larger lifting towers, but those maxed out at around 100 tons. We're talking about stones that are 8, 9, 10 times that limit. And they didn't just lift them, they had to transport them over a quarter of a mile from the quarry. There is simply no known Roman technology that can account for this. And that one fact changes everything. It suggests the Romans didn't build this foundation. It suggests they found it here, an ancient, impossibly large stage, and they simply built their own temple on top of it. But this is where it gets fascinating. The real evidence for this isn't just at the temple site, it's back at the quarry. At the quarry, we find the notes to a symphony that was never finished. There, still attached to the bedrock, lies a stone known as the Hajar al-Hibla, or the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. It's even bigger than the ones in the Trilithon, weighing an estimated 1,200 tons. It's fully quarried, shaped, and ready to be moved, but it was just left there. Another even bigger one, weighing over 1,600 tons, was found nearby just a few years ago. What I keep coming back to is this. Why would any builder quarry and shape their largest, most important stones only to abandon them at the last second? It's like the original builders, the ones with the technology to move 1,000-ton blocks, just vanished. And then, at some later point, new builders, the Romans, arrived and started building again, but with their own, much smaller stones. It's as if there are millennia of silence between the two construction phases. The foundation was started, then the project was suddenly interrupted, and the builders never came back. So, what could have stopped them? What could prevent an entire civilization capable of such incredible feats from returning to finish their work? A war? A famine? It seems unlikely. The scale of the abandonment suggests something far bigger, a force of nature so devastating it didn't just end a project, it ended a world. As I've mentioned before and address in my upcoming book, Whispers of the Megaliths, we know of such an event. Around 12,900 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, the Earth was rocked by a cataclysm, a period we now call the Younger Dryas. Evidence is mounting that our planet was hit by fragments of a disintegrating comet. These fragments triggered global floods, continent-spanning wildfires, and a sudden 1,000-year-long winter. It was an extinction-level event, and in my eyes, it provides the only explanation that fits the evidence on the ground at Baalbek. The original builders never returned to move those final stones because they were swept away in the chaos of a broken world. Their civilization lost beneath the ice and the floodwaters. The full story of Baalbek may never be truly understood. We're left with the haunting echoes of two different symphonies playing at once, the familiar, magnificent music of Rome, and beneath it, the deep, silent, and unfinished music of a lost civilization. But for me, this isn't a story of despair. Those giant, abandoned stones in the quarry are a message. They are a testament to a human ambition and a capability that our history has forgotten. They remind us that we come from a lineage of resilience, a lineage of dreamers who said, "Nothing is impossible." And they stand as a profound promise that none of our dreams are too big. If we, like our ancestors, look past our doubts, maybe one day we too can leave our own monuments that tell others we were here. The investigation doesn't end here. The story of our species is deeper and more mysterious than we've been led to believe. If you want to go deeper down this rabbit hole with us, join the project. It's our private email list where we continue the journey, share new findings, and explore the questions that history is afraid to ask. The link is right there in the description.